Thank you, Madam Chair. And also thank you, Administrator Williams, for coming to our committee. I want to discuss with you something that we've already been talking about and I think is critical to all of our communities, and that's that partnership between the federal government, our local transit agencies, that really is designed to improve and expand public transportation across the country. You know, a personal example, when Secretary Chow last appeared before us in March of last year, I asked the Secretary about the Orange County streetcar, which is a transit project that's going to connect, as you know, Garden Grove, which is my congressional district, with Santa Ana, which is the county seat. The point I'm making is I emphasized that our local agency was counting on a full funding grant agreement from FDA because our local agency had now bids out that were set to expire, and that costs would now begin, once that happened, would rise. What was nice was that, yes, FTA did sign the agreement in November of last year of 2018, which had been in the New Starts program since 2015. So my question is, are other communities experiencing the same delays in the New Starts process that have seen their costs increase as a result of delays?
Okay.
And is FTA tracking those cost increases?
So I was happy to go out to Orange County
Yes.
and sign that FFGA with Daryl. It was a significant tool, I think, for the local economy there. What I would tell you is that I'm not sure that it included project cost increases. So when we went through the risk assessment process, if the risk assessment says the actual project cost is higher than what the agency is predicting it to be, we required them to meet that cost. And I think that was the issue with Orange County.
I'm just, right, I understand that, but I'm just wondering, in other counties, are you tracking data that you could provide us about those that cost increase that were due to whatever, not blaming it, but this process taking longer than people expected?
I'm not sure that we are tracking that specifically. I'd have to ask my technical team. We'd be happy to get back to you
I would
on that.
appreciate that. And maybe you could explain to me, I may have missed some of this, when there are delays, and what are you doing, and how's the agency streamlining the New Starts process to avoid these kinds of cost increases?
So let me assure you that there is not one FFGA or SSGA or LONP on my desk, my leadership's desk, or OMB's desk. So there are no delays happening.
There are no delays.
There is not one single project waiting for my action as I sit here today. And so many of the actions that cause delays, sometimes there's third-party agreements that are difficult to work out. There's local financial commitments that need to be made. A lot of sponsors, we worked a lot with Indiana on how you define committed in our program means you have access, immediate access to those funds. And many sponsors confuse that with if they have a board action saying they're going to give the funding, if that board action is required to be approved by anyone else, it's not considered actual committed funding. And so we try to make sure we work very closely with the sponsors. My technical team is one of the best in government. They work with our grantees all the time to make sure they really understand what needs to happen.
I appreciate that, and I think it's very important what you're saying so that the applicants do understand. But I'm also talking about another issue. What about when that's all taken care of? The applicants have done what they have to do. They've applied, you know, and they have bids out. They're expecting to have that full funding grant agreement, and it takes longer. And then now it's going to cost not because they've done anything wrong, the applicant more money.
I think we obviously never want to cost a project sponsor additional costs in their project. And so we work really hard to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, and I yield back.
You're welcome. Thank you, Congressman.
Well, I appreciate the gentleman's questions because obviously the local jurisdictions can't know what, when there's several of them working together, have to work together.